The Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-19 is a Soviet second-generation, single-seat, twin-jet engined fighter aircraft. It was the first Soviet production aircraft capable of supersonic speeds in level flight. A comparable U.S. Century Series fighter was the North American F-100 Super Sabre, although the MiG-19 would primarily oppose the more modern McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II and Republic F-105 Thunderchief over North Vietnam. Design and development. On 20 April 1951, OKB-155 was given the order to develop the MiG-17 into a new fighter called I-340, which was to be powered by two Mikoyan AM-5 non-afterburning jet engines delivering 19.6 kilonewtons of thrust. The I-340 was supposed to attain 1,160 kilometers per hour at 2,000 meters, 1,090 kilometers per hour at 10,000 meters, climb to 10,000 meters in 2.9 minutes, and have a service ceiling of no less than 17,500 meters. The new fighter, internally designated EDM-1, was designed around the Si-2 airframe modified to accept two engines in a side-by-side arrangement and was completed in March 1952. The I-340 suffered from poor cockpit pressurization and the engines proved temperamental with frequent flame-outs and surges with rapid throttle movements. The engines were upgraded to the AM-5A standard, delivering 21.1 kilonewtons of thrust each, which exceeded the power output of the Klima VK-1F in afterburner while providing better fuel economy. The EDM-1 was barely supersonic, reaching 1,193 kilometers per hour at 5,000 meters. This performance was deemed insufficient for the new supersonic fighter, and an afterburning version of the engine, the AM-5F, was proposed. While not implemented, the AM-5F served as the basis for the Tumansky Road 9, which powered production aircraft. Further development of the twin-engine concept resulted in a government request for the I-360, internally designated EDM-2, powered by the AM-5F engines, but featured a highly swept wing. The I-360, built in 1952, had 1.6 meters longer fuselage, wingspan reduced to 9.04 meters, and weight increased to 6,802 kilograms, and a new 55-degree sweep wing. The Neutlemann N-37D cannon were moved to the wing roots to open space in a nose for the radar. Cockpit and landing gear were redesigned, and a vertical stabilizer of increased area mounting a T-tail was fitted. In April 1952, the first prototype was sent to the Letna Isledovatelski Institute, flying for the first time on the 27th of May 1952 by G.A. Sedo. It was immediately clear that the AM-5A engines were not powerful enough, and they were replaced with AM-5F, delivering 21.09 to 26.49 kilonewtons, allowing a maximum speed of m equals 1.19 in horizontal flight. Flight testing prompted modifications to the air brakes and control surfaces, redesignated as the SM-2A, and after further modifications the prototype was redesignated again as the SM-2B. The second prototype, EDM-2 halves, introduced horizontal stabilizers mounted on the upper rear fuselage and guns with shorter barrels. However, the AM-5F engine was still not considered powerful enough, and both prototypes received yet more powerful 25.5 to 31.9 kilonewtons Mikoyan AM-5B engines. Production versions of the AM-5 were redesignated RD-9B, and the SM-2B was redesignated EDM-9/1 when these engines were fitted, effectively becoming becoming the prototype of the MiG-19 series, flying for the first time on 5 January 1954, piloted by G.A. Sedov, making a total of 132 flights. Final changes included a modified air intake, new 23mm Neutlemann Richter near-23 guns with 340 RPG, RSIU-3M, CLEN radio, UZDL-1 transponder, and SRDM-1M CONUS radio rangefinder. Initial enthusiasm for the aircraft was dampened by several problems. The most alarming, inherited from MiG-15, MiG-17, was the danger of mid-air tank implosions when more than half of the fuel had been used. The leaking fuel of the crushed fuselage fuel tanks located between the engines would then ignite, leading to a fatal explosion. Deployment of air brakes at high speeds caused a high G pitch-up. Elevators lacked authority at supersonic speeds. High landing speed of 230 km per hour. Absence of a two-seat trainer version slowed pilot transition to the type. Handling problems were addressed with the second prototype, EDM-9 which added a third ventral air brake and introduced all-moving tailplanes with a damper to prevent pilot-induced oscillations at subsonic speeds. Flying for the first time on 16 September 1954, entering initial production as the MiG-19, the Soviet of the Ministers of the Soviet Union issued an order number 286-133 to start serial production on 17 February 1954 at factories in Gorky and Novosibirsk. Factory trials were completed on 12 September 1954, and government trials started on 30 September. Problems with the initial production MiG-19 were addressed in the EDM-9 prototype, which presaged the MiG-19's production version, which supplanted the initial MiG-19 in production at Gorky and Novosibirsk from June 1956. Approximately 5,500 MiG-19s of all versions were produced in the USSR, Czechoslovakia as the Avia S-105 and People's Republic of China as the Shenyang J-6. The aircraft saw service with a number of other national air forces, including those of Cuba, North Vietnam, Egypt, Pakistan, and North Korea. The aircraft saw combat during the Vietnam War, the 1967 Six-Day War, and the 1971 Bangladesh War. All Soviet-built MiG-19 variants were single-seaters only, although the Chinese developed the Shenyang J-6 trainer version of the Shenyang J-6. With stabilization problems and numerous crashes, the Russians had lost faith in the MiG-19 and moved on to the newly emerging MiG-21. The J-6 remained a staple of the Chinese People's Liberation Army Air Force until the 1980s and has also been developed into the Nanchang Q-5 attack aircraft. Despite its age, the MiG-19 and its descendants exhibit good handling characteristics at low altitude and a surprisingly high rate of climb, and the heavy cannon armament. Neutlemann Richter near-30 cannon had a total projectile mass of 18 kilograms, making the MiG-19 a formidable adversary in close combat. Russian-built MiG-19s were still in service in North Korea and Zambia as of 2014. Operational history. During the service with Soviet anti-air defense and in East Germany, MiG-19s were involved in multiple interceptions of Western reconnaissance aircraft. The first documented encounter with a Lockheed U-2 took place in the autumn of 1957. The MiG-19 pilot reported seeing the aircraft, but could not make up the 2,234 meters difference in altitude. When Francis Gary Powers' U-2 was shot down in the 1960 incident, one pursuing MiG-19P was also hit by the salvo of S-75D Vena missiles, killing the pilot Sergei Safrono. In a highly controversial incident on the 1st of July 1960, a MiG-19 shot down an RB-47H reconnaissance aircraft in international airspace over the Arctic Circle, with 4 of the crew killed and 2 captured by the Soviets. In another incident, on the 28th of January 1964, a MiG-19 shot down a T-39 Sabre liner which had strayed into East German airspace while on a training mission. All 3 crew members were killed. Vietnam War. Hanoi decided in early 1969 to strengthen its air defenses by creating a 3rd jet fighter unit, the 925th Fighter Regiment. This unit would consist of late-model MiG-17s and the newly acquired MiG-19s. The regiment was established at Yanbai, and by April 1969, 9 combat-rated MiG-19 pilots were posted for combat duty, while some of North Vietnam's MiG-17s and all of the MiG-21s were supplied by the Soviet Union. The MiG-19s were supplied by the PRC, which seldom exceeded 54 MiG-19s in number. The first use and loss of a U.S. fighter to a MiG-19 was in 1965 when a USAF Lockheed F-104 starfighter piloted by Captain Philip E. Smith was attacked by a People's Liberation Army Air Force aircraft over Hainan Island. His starfighter took cannon fire which damaged a portion of his wing and missile mount. Smith gave chase and did receive missile tone on the MiG, but within a millisecond of pressing his missile firing button, his starfighter lost all power. He ejected and was captured. Smith was held prisoner until released on 15 March 1973, due to improving U.S.-China relations following U.S. President Richard Nixon's visit to China in 1972. The North Vietnamese Air Force began receiving the MiG-19 at the end of Operation Rolling Thunder, which ended in 1968. Despite the limited numbers, MiG-19s were involved in extensive combat during operations Linebacker 1 and Linebacker 2. The NVAF claimed only 7 victories over U.S. aircraft using the MiG-19, all of which were F-4 Phantom IIs. The MiG-19 was tested by U.S. pilots in the United States in 1969 after receiving a Chinese J-6 from Pakistan. In addition to finding the aircraft to have a good canopy allowing good visibility for the pilot, along with 3 hard-hitting 30mm cannons, U.S. pilots found the MiG-19 to be an excellent fighter. Like the MiG-17, it could easily outturn the Phantom, and could out-accelerate the F-4 out to Mach 1.2, but was slower than the MiG-21. However, the MiG-19's strongest fault was its extremely short range, as one U.S. test pilot remarked. After going in full afterburner at low altitude for 5 minutes, the MiG driver will be looking for a place to land. Quote, this, combined with the aircraft's twin engines, which were difficult to maintain, made the MiG-19 unpopular with North Vietnamese pilots. North Vietnamese Air Force and Communist Chinese airspace violation air-to-air kills, all 6 with 30mm cannon. The MiG-19 lacked mounts for air-to-air missiles, but it had the one advantage over the early model F-4 Phantom II: it was armed with a cannon. NVAF MiG-19s had 3 30mm cannons which were notable for the large muzzle flash when fired. The aircraft were loaded with 90 rounds per cannon, giving approximately 6 seconds of firing time. A single 2-second burst of 90 shells could impact a U.S. aircraft with 81 pounds of metal. This contrasted to a U.S. 20mm cannon such as the Vulcan, which would deliver 39 pounds of metal. Confirmed aerial victories by MiG-19s while assigned to the 925th FR, which match U.S. records, occurred on the 10th of May 1972, in which two F-4 Phantoms were shot down by MiG-19s flown by Pham Hung Sun and Nguyen Man Tung. Both NVAF victories over the F-4S were accomplished by cannon fire. Combat results of the 925th FR using MiG-19s, according to the North Vietnamese Air Force, were: 2 F-4S on the 8th of May 1972, 2 F-4S on the 10th of May 1972, 1 F-4 on the 18th of May 1972, and 2 F-4S shot down on the 23rd of May 1972. These losses were in exchange for 10 MiG-19s lost in aerial combat with U.S. jets. On the 2nd of June 1972, in the skies over North Vietnam, a MiG-19 was the first recorded jet fighter to be shot down in aerial combat by cannon fire at supersonic speeds, by a USAF F-4 Phantom flown by Phil Handley. China. The MiG-19 apparently was in frontline service with the PLAAF and saw limited combat against the nationalist adversary, the Republic of China Air Force. One major air battle between communist and nationalist Chinese aircraft occurred in 1967, with 12 J-6s taking on 4 Lockheed F-104 starfighters. Each side claimed 1 kill. There were reports of People's Republic of China J-6s flying combat missions during infrequent border squabbles with the Soviets, though with no records of dogfights and encounters during the Vietnam War with U.S. aircraft that strayed into Chinese airspace. These confrontations resulted in a few shoot-downs of U.S. aircraft, with no recorded losses of Chinese aircraft, although the MiGs sometimes had to make a hasty retreat back into Chinese airspace when the Americans flew in reinforcements. Middle East. In 1962, Egyptian MiG-19s saw some action in the ground attack role during the civil war in Yemen during the early 1960s. The first reported air combat in the Mideast with the MiG-19 was on the 29th of November 1966, when two Egyptian MiG-19 fighters battled Israeli Mirage IICs. The Israelis claimed 2 kills and no losses. Around 80 MiG-19s were in service with Egypt during the Six-Day War in 1967, but more than half were destroyed on the ground during the opening Israeli airstrikes of Operation Focus. Israeli pilots, however, did find the MiG-19 a potentially dangerous adversary because of its performance, maneuverability, and heavy armament. Following the war, the Egyptians organized the surviving MiG-19 aircraft and assigned them air defense tasks of Egypt's interior. The Soviet Union did not supply Egypt with any replacement of the MiG-19s destroyed in the Six-Day War, but Egypt might have received some from Syria and Iraq, so that by the end of 1968 there were 80+ MiG-19s in service with the Egyptian Air Force. The aircraft also saw combat during the War of Attrition. In one engagement on the 19th of May 1969, a MiG-19 aircraft engaged 2 Israeli Mirages, shooting down one with cannon fire while the other escaped. Egypt had around 60 MiG-19s in service during the Yom Kippur War of 1973, in which they served as close air support aircraft. The Iraqis obtained some MiG-19S fighters in the early 1960s, but later sold them all off, though the survivors did see some action against the Kurds in the 1960s. It is claimed that the Iranians acquired a batch of their own F-6S. Horn of Africa. In the Horn of Africa, the Somali armed forces flew the F-6 against the Ethiopian National Defense Force during the Ogaden campaign. The SAF also used the aircraft against rebel positions in the late 1980s. Nile Valley. In the Nile Valley, Sudan used its MiG-19S fighters against separatists in southern Sudan. At least one such aircraft was shot down. African Great Lakes. In the African Great Lakes region, Tanzania flew MiG-19S fighters against Uganda during the war between the two states in 1978 and 1979. Variants. Production aircraft designations. Data from MiG-19 first production version armed with 323mm near-23 cannon. MiG-19P version equipped with RP-1 Azimrad radar in the nose and armed with two 23mm near-23 cannons in the wings. Had provision for an unguided rocket pack under each wing, elongated tail, fine fillet, all-moving tailplane. Third air brake added behind the ventral fin. Vimpel K-13 air-to-air missile capability was added late in its service life. Entered production in 1955. MiG-19PF single-seat radar-equipped, all-weather interceptor fighter aircraft, built in small numbers. MiG-19PG MiG-19P equipped with the GORIZONT-1 ground-control data link. MiG-19PM NATO Farmer E variant was removed. Cannons armed with four Kaliningrad K5M beam riding missiles. Entered production in 1957. MiG-19PM MiG-19PM with laser ground control data link. MiG-19PU rocket pack fit similar to MiG-19's. MiG-19PTA single MiG-19P equipped to carry Vimpel K-13 missiles. MiG-19PU MiG-19R reconnaissance version of the MiG-19S with cameras replacing the nose cannon and powered by uprated RD-9BF-1 engines. MiG-19S further development equipped with SVOD long-range navigation receiver and armed with three 30mm near-30 cannons. Had provisions for an unguided rocket pack or a Fab 250 bomb under each wing. Entered service in 1956. MiG-19SF late production. MiG-19S powered by the same uprated RD-9BF-1 engines as the MiG-19R. MiG-19SV high-altitude version for intercepting reconnaissance balloons reached 20,740 meters on 6 December 1956. Entered service in 1956. MiG-19S Mk2 missile guidance testbeds for the K-10S cruise missile system. MiG-19SV MiG-19SV with a new wing. Small increase in altitude above MiG-19SV did not warrant production. MiG-19 Su high-altitude version to intercept the Lockheed U-2, equipped with a self-contained liquid fuel booster rocket pack, appears to have been abandoned because of inability to control the aircraft at very high altitudes and the aircraft's tendency to enter supersonic spins. MiG-19M target drones converted from the MiG-19 and MiG-19S M mission target, a research aircraft modified from a MiG-19 with a variable track skid-based skidundic airage. An alternative designation for the MiG-19M, M19M2 MiG-19 petaseconds converted to flying laboratories for testing the Grosjean K6 developmental arm and ALMAZ-3 radar. 3 prototypes of the MiG-19P all-weather interceptor, built concurrently with the ED-M9 prototypes, exhibiting all the same failings. First prototype of the MiG-19 series, developed from the ED-M2. Prototype of the initial MiG-19 production series. Prototype of the tactical fighter MiG-19S production series. Projected tactical nuclear strike version abandoned due to poor performance estimates with the weapon loaded. New fighter prototype developed into the MiG-21. 4 aircraft built. Missile simulator for testing the Rajuga Kh-20 cruise missile. Zero-length launch version with PRD-22R short-duration burn booster rocket. High-altitude version to intercept the Lockheed U-2. Equipped with a self-contained liquid fuel booster rocket pack. Appears to have been abandoned because of inability to control the aircraft at very high altitudes and the aircraft's tendency to enter supersonic spins. High-altitude experimental version fitted with a U-19 booster rocket. High-altitude experimental version fitted with the Sabre reusable booster rocket. EDMK missile simulator for testing the Rajuga K-10 cruise missile. Internal Gas 21 designation of the MiG-19 initial production series. Internal Gas 153 designation of the MiG-19 initial production series. Internal Gas 21 designation of the MiG-19S production series. Internal Gas 21 designation of the MiG-19P production all-weather interceptor. Internal Gas 153 designation of the MiG-19S production series. Internal Gas 21 designation of the SM-12PM USDL-URIDM-2A weapon system development MiG-19 for ground attack weapons. ISDA-URIDM-2B, a weapon system development MiG-19 for ground attack weapons. ISDA-URIDM-2A, a weapons test bed for -160 Argentine pesos HVARs, discontinued when the EDM-2G was almost complete. ISDA-URIDM-2I, a weapons test bed for the K-6 air-to-air missile. ISDA-URIDM-2M, a weapons test bed for the K-5M air missile. ISDA-URIDM-2V, a weapon system development aircraft for ground attack weapons, converted from the ISDA-URIDM-2B, a weapons test bed for the K-6 air missile. ISDA-USM-9K ISDA-USM-9R-OKB designation for the MiG-19R tactical reconnaissance aircraft. ISDA-USM-9V, OKB designation for the MiG-19 SV high-altitude interceptor prototypes with MiG-19 rear fuselage tail unit. ISDA-USM-9V, 3V, OKB designation for the MiG-19 SV high-altitude interceptor with MiG-19S rear fuselage tail unit. ISDA-USM-9V, 3VK, OKB designation for the MiG-19 SVK experimental high-altitude interceptor, weapons aiming testing with the ASP-5 then computing gun sight and -1 Surinamese dollars gun ranging radar. ISDA-URIDM-9, 3T, a MiG-19S modified to test the K-13R3S, the EDM-7 all-weather interceptor prototypes. The MiG-19P production all-weather interceptor. ISDA-USM-7A, OKB designation for a MiG-19P weapons test bed with gun armament. ISDA-USM-7M, OKB designation for a MiG-19P weapons test bed with missile armament. ISDA-URIDM-7-1M, the first EDM-7 prototype modified with the K-5M missile system to be fitted in the MiG-19PM. ISDA-URIDM-7-2M, the second EDM-7 prototype and 5 MiG-19P aircraft modified with the K-5M missile system to be fitted in the MiG-19PM. Internal Gas 21 designation of the MiG-19PM production series. ISDA-URIDM-7-2T, a single MiG-19P equipped to carry Vimpel K-13 missiles as the MiG-19PT. ISDA-USM-9D possible alternative designation for the ISDA-URIDM-10. an in-flight refueling test bed aircraft using the wingtip-to-wingtip hose system, a projected version of the MiG-19S fitted with a Yasteb SIV-52 infrared search and track system, prototypes fitted with extended nose, a new intake system from the U-2A and U-5 research aircraft, is the URIDM-12-3T, the third IDM-12 prototype modified to carry K-13AAAMs for testing, is the URIDM-12-4T, the fourth IDM-12 prototype modified to carry K-13AAAMs for testing, is the USM-12PM, intended production version of the IDM-12 armed with the K-51 weapon system, is the USM-12PMU, the second IDM-12 prototype fitted with a U-19D booster rocket in an identical installation to the MiG-19 Su missile simulators used to test the guidance systems for the Kh-20 missile airdropped from a Tupolev Tu-95 mothership. The IDM-2V converted, for the third time, to test the APU-5 launch rails on outboard hardpoints, is the USM-20P, alternative designation for the IDM-20/1 manned missile simulator zero-length launch test beds with PRD-22R booster rocket, projected production zero-length launch fighters, high-altitude version to intercept the Lockheed U-2, equipped with a self-contained U-19 liquid fuel booster rocket pack, high-altitude experimental version fitted with a U-19 booster rocket, high-altitude experimental version fitted with the Sabre reusable booster rocket, is the URIDM K-2 missile guidance test beds for the K-10S cruise missile system. Czechoslovak license-built MiG-19S, Chinese-built version of the MiG-19. This version was inducted into the Pakistani Air Force as the F-6. The F-6 was later modified by the Pakistani Air Force to carry US-built AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles. Two-seat trainer version of the J-6 operators, Afghanistan Afghan Air Force. 36 acquired by the Royal Afghan Air Force from 1964, Albanian Air Force, 85 Soviet-built, all retired in 2005, Bangladesh Air Force, Bulgaria. The MiG-19 served in the Bulgarian Air Force from 1958 to 1973. People's Republic of China, Chinese-built variant Shenyang J-6, all single-seaters retired from frontline combat service in 1992, except for Nanshank U-5 variant. Some J-6 was converted to target attack drone. As of 2010 all were decommissioned. People's Liberation Army Air Force, People's Liberation Army Navy Air Force, Cuban Air Force, Czechoslovakia East German Air Force, Egyptian Air Force, Hungarian Air Force operated 12 MiG-19 PM from 1959 to 1973. Indonesian Air Force. The Indonesian Air Force acquired a number of MiG-19s in 1961 and used during the preparation of Operation Tricora in 1962 in Western New Guinea. Several of these aircraft crashed. All aircraft sold to Pakistan, Iraqi Air Force, Mozambique, Military of Mozambique, North Korean Air Force. J-6 still in service. Pakistan Air Force operated Chinese J-6 from 1965 to 2002. Some of them are on display on squares in various cities. Poland Polish Air Force. Romanian Air Force. A total of 17 MiG-19P and 10 MiG-19PM aircraft were in service between 1958 and 1972. Somalia Somali Air Corps. Soviet Union Soviet Air Force. Soviet Anti-Air Defense. Soviet Naval Aviation, Sudan Sudanese Air Force, Syria Syrian Air Force, Tanzania Tanzanian Air Force, Vietnam Vietnam People's Air Force, Zambia Zambian Air Force. Specifications. Data from General Characteristics. Crew. 1. Length 12.54 meters less pitot boom, 14.64 meters with pitot boom extended. Wingspan 9 meters. Height 3.885 meters. Wing area 25.16 square meters. Empty weight 5,172 kilograms to 5,447 kilograms. Gross weight 7,560 kilograms clean. Max takeoff weight 8,662 kilograms with drop tanks. Fuel capacity: internal 2,170 L, drop tanks 2x760 L. Power plant 2 times Tumansky RD-9B axial flow after burning turbojets, 25.5 kilonewtons thrust each dry, 31.8 kilonewtons with afterburner. Performance maximum speed 1,452 km per hour at 10,000 meters. Maximum speed Mach 1.355. Range 1,390 kilometers. Ferry range 2,200 kilometers with drop tanks. Endurance 1 hour 43 minutes clean, 2 hours 38 minutes with drop tanks. Service ceiling 15,600 meters dry, 17,500 to 17,900 meters wet. G limits +8. Rate of climb 180 meters per second. Thrust weight 0.86. Armament guns 3x 30mm Newtonman Richter near 30 cannon. Bombs 2x 50 to 250 kilograms. Bombs are 2x FFAR rocket pods. Avionics -3 SUR enemies $grad gun ranging radar ASP-5N computing gun sight and an RSIU-4 WHF radio.